Imagine this. You run a store. A customer pays with a credit card. Then you lend them the money to pay off that card and charge them interest. That's what China did to the United States. And it worked. Brilliantly, quietly, and legally. But to understand how they pulled it off, you have to go back decades to a moment that changed the global economy forever. This story isn't just about money. It's about power, about control, and about how a communist state outmaneuvered the world's largest democracy using its own financial system. It started with two decisions in the 1970s. One opened the door to China. The other shut the door on gold. And neither of them was an accident. In 1972, President Richard Nixon made a historic visit to communist China. It was a geopolitical shockwave. At the time, China was isolated, poor, and hostile to the West. But Nixon, along with Henry Kissinger, saw an opportunity to use China as a counterweight to the Soviet Union. What they didn't fully realize was that this opened the door to something else: economic interdependence that would reshape the global balance of power. Just a year earlier, Nixon had made another fateful decision. He took the United States off the gold standard. This meant the US dollar was no longer backed by gold. It became fiat currency, backed only by trust and debt. So think about the timing. In one year, the dollar became untethered, and in the next, America opened up to a massive labor force that could produce goods at rock-bottom prices. Coincidence? Maybe. But it created the perfect conditions for what came next. As the Cold War faded, the relationship between the US and China warmed economically. Corporations saw dollar signs. China offered cheap labor, no environmental regulations, and a government willing to do whatever it took to grow. By the 1990s and early 2000s, American companies were outsourcing everything: clothing, electronics, pharmaceuticals, even military components. Take Walmart as an example. By 2005, Walmart was buying an estimated $18 billion worth of goods from China every year, more than most countries imported. That made Walmart, by some estimates, China's 8th largest trading partner. An American retailer helped supercharge China's factory dominance while wiping out thousands of US manufacturing jobs. Let that sink in. While factories closed in Ohio, new ones opened in Guangzhou. China wasn't just accepting jobs, they were building an empire. They targeted key industries: shipbuilding, telecommunications, rare earth minerals, pharmaceuticals, and advanced technology. In the 1980s, the US was the world's top producer of rare earth minerals, used in everything from missiles to smartphones. Today, over 85% of global rare earth processing happens in China. In 2010, China even cut off rare earth exports to Japan during a diplomatic dispute, showing how control of these minerals could be weaponized, just like they are doing now. In 1990, the US produced 37% of global semiconductors. By 2020, just 12%. China, meanwhile, invested over $100 billion into chip production to catch up, and is now fighting to dominate the future of AI and quantum computing. And all the while, the West kept buying. Year after year, China's trade surplus ballooned. Now here's where the genius play begins. All those US dollars pouring into China, they didn't sit idle. China reinvested them. How? By buying US Treasury bonds. After the 2008 crash, while the US was printing trillions in stimulus, China doubled down, buying even more Treasury bonds. Why? Because keeping the US economy alive meant keeping American consumers spending on Chinese goods. It was like funding your customers' rehab just to keep them coming back. So the money America spent buying Chinese goods was loaned back to the US government with interest. That's the loop. US spends, China earns, China lends, US spends more. China made money on both ends. They sold the goods. Then they got paid again when the US paid interest on the debt. It's like running the store and owning the credit card company. And it helped keep the yuan weak and the dollar strong, fueling even more exports. Cities like Shenzhen rose from rice fields to megacities. China became the world's factory. Meanwhile, America's debt soared and entire industries vanished. The US middle class? Hollowed out. But now, the system is straining. China has begun reducing its holdings of US debt. Tensions are rising. Trade wars, currency wars, even talk of replacing the dollar as the world's reserve currency. But what they did in the meantime is even more impressive. That's where we're headed in the next episode. This isn't just about trade. It's about power. It's about who writes the rules for the next global era. Subscribe and stick around. We're just getting started. This is part of a series exposing how China flipped the global system. Share it, question it, learn from it, because this game isn't over yet. How did no one see this coming? Let me know your thoughts. Comment, like, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more.